I'm sure that there's just other things in general that have boosted the mood around buying stocks. So
Hmm.
one of the other things is that buy the dip mantra. So like
Yeah.
that's something that I think we talked about last time. It's 100% true. Like as people were wondering, should I get in? Should I not get in? Once they see some good things and it makes them feel like there's, maybe an end in sight, then they want to get their investments into the stock market because we've been told for our entire adult life
The
that if
millennials,
you
certainly.
yeah, if you miss out on buying into a recession, uh, like that is the time to get into a stock market.
Hmm.
And if you miss out on that, then you're going to miss out on enormous, amazing returns, and
Yeah.
you'd be a fool not to. That's what we're told, and that is quite true in a lot of instances, and it will be true for this recession as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
You shared this chart with me of Google search trend, the term how to buy stock. This was astounding when you shared this with me, and I'm going to share it with you right now on the screen. Google searches, who does it? You know, a lot of people who are younger, probably younger generations, probably millennials, and, who are not interested in any stock market investments yet. They might have some savings, but they hear all these opportunities around their friends, and so they want to find out how they want to invest into something, perhaps in this dip. You want to talk about it a little?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I can't number or count the number of times I've had friends or coworkers talk about how they've been wanting to open up a brokerage account just like in the last year,
Hmm.
and you can bet that this as being an opportunity where you're sitting at home, maybe if you aren't allowed to go into work or if you have lost your job, and there's a lot of so this is both the opportunity that a lot of people have been looking for to kind of like take on certain things that they weren't uh, they didn't necessarily have the time to do before. And one of those things is with finances on everybody's mind is going to be how do I actually get into the stock market and maximize this opportunity.
Hmm.
Uh, so like you see a flood of people probably now opening up brokerage accounts and having maybe saved some nest egg, an emergency fund for some period of time, are looking to put some of that into the stock market potentially.
Yeah. So what
And
this
so,
chart tells us right here is we're at this last March 2020. It hit the index of 100, which means in the relative time since January 1st, 2007 to March 2020, that month has been the most search, of a hundred, normalized value compared to any other periods during this time. The second highest was December 2017. This was, I think, was perhaps the tax cut time.
yeah,
During that
yeah, that
time,
is definitely jobs
yeah,
uh, and tax cuts.
yeah, tax cut has passed, and this was coming into realization, and people were looking for how to buy stocks. But look at that. Like even 2008 when the stock was dropping, 24 relative to now. So, yeah, you can see how many small investors could potentially have chipped in to this little rebound that we were seeing.
Yeah, and that like part of that's because of the amount of people that are using the internet, and then also the amount of millennials that have worked in part of the 10-year, 11-year bull run that we had.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's a lot of people that had been making money in an economy that was nearing full employment, and even though they might not have a lot saved up, or they might be in kind of desperate or trying situation right now, there is some security for a lot of people who may have lost their jobs in the form of unemployment,
Mm-hmm.
and we might be able to talk a little bit about that later, because the unemployment actually did get buffed up a little bit to last longer and pay a little bit more than it would have. And the function of that was to make sure that people could take care of themselves financially and not have the need to go out, because it would assist with the social distancing measures that would help
Mm-hmm.
curb the spread of coronavirus. So these were all actions that we saw with the CARES Act initially before, and we'll see that at least alleviates some of the worry from employees who had lost their jobs and have some income, but the fear is still going to be there, and we'll switch gears on the things that
Yeah.
that were good,
Yeah.
that had maybe led to the rebound. So those were things that may have contributed to a rebound.
Yeah.
Plus, I don't know what day it was. Bernie Sanders, the one of the Democratic primary contenders, dropped out of the Democratic primary,
Mm-hmm.
I think this past week.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
sure that had some impact in the stock market's behavior as well, since this isn't anything against Bernie Sanders, but his ideas would impact a lot of businesses in the country, and
Yeah.
it would ultimately impact the economy in many ways, if he were able to gain traction with a lot of his ideas and actually have them put into place.
Yeah.
So again, it's just another one of those elements of something that was uncertain, that was difficult for the market to price in or get control of. One more thing that was causing uncertainty is gone, and that's what I think a lot of this enthusiasm or a lot of this momentum for the rebound has been.
Yeah.
It's gaining more certainty. Now, the only problem is that this is all short-sighted certainty that people are seeing, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
maybe seeing the top of the current peak in at least one location, being New York State in the United States. What we're not seeing is the approach of tops in other states in the United States. My home state of Michigan is having a significant problem right now. Obviously, both of us went
Mm-hmm.
to University of Michigan, and things are not good there. So
No, it's not
it's
very good.
really scary.
Right.
And so there are a lot of scary things out there with regards to how we're going to make it past the peak in cases in coronavirus. And
Mm-hmm.
then once we reach a top, then we have to come down from the top. So it took us 4 weeks to get here, and you can imagine it'll probably take 4 weeks with the same measures in place to prevent the spread to get to like a more manageable place at the
Yeah.
end of this peak.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
that doesn't, once we get past the peak, it doesn't mean that we've
We can
gotten
go
rid of
back
the
to
problem.
exactly normal, like as
Yeah,
we were
that
before the vaccines are populated.
we haven't actually solved anything.
Yeah.
And then we
The core
we
problem.
yeah, we had our first talk little over 2 weeks ago, and that actually was on the day that they released the first jobs loss numbers.
Mm-hmm.
That was 3.3 million, and we kind of gawked at that as kind of like, it looked like it was one of the boundaries on the graph because it was so ridiculously high in comparison,
Right.
and it absolutely obliterated all other records for weekly job loss. And then the following week,
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people have seen since, it was 6.6 million.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it wasn't a surprise to anybody, and it wasn't a surprise to us that more and more people were going to be let go as a result of the lockdowns and not being able to go to their jobs
Yeah.
based off of the spread, and not being able to be retained by those companies, because a lot of companies don't have the cash on hand to for payroll for longer than a couple weeks.
Okay.
if not a little bit longer. So that's why many people are continuing to get furloughed and continuing to get laid off.
Yeah.
And with uh, the CARES Act, with unemployment being increased, a lot of people have been encouraged to seek unemployment. But that
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily mean that's been a smooth process for those people either.
All right, thanks for watching, guys and gals. I'll see you in the next video, in our next conversation. If you like the video, please hit like below. And if you would like to see the next video, please hit subscribe. Thanks.